The Lion Wakes by Robert Lowe. Read by David Gonet. Being a chronicle of the kingdom in the years of trouble, written at Greyfriars Priory on the octave of Septuagesima, in the year of our Lord 1329, 23rd year of the reign of King Robert I, God save and keep him. In the year of our Lord 1296, the Scots decided they had had enough of King Edward lording over them with his appointed Balliol king, and so declared. The English came north with fire and sword, and the law of Deuteronomy at Berwick, so that the slaughter caused the name of that town to be used as a watchword and rallying cry for ever after. The defeated King John Balliol was brought to Edward's feet to be stripped of crown and regalia, the proud heraldry of his rank torn from his surcoat, so that it was known as tomb tabard, empty coat ever after. The coronation regalia of Scotland, the holy rood and the stone of Scone, was seized, while the great seal was ceremonially snapped in half. Then King Edward rode south, giving control of what he now thought of as his own lands to a governor, to keep the Scots in thrall to him. "A man does good work," he declared, washing his hands of the place, "when he rids himself of such a turd." But the Scots would not bow the knee. There was rebellion in the north under Murray, the east under Fraser, in the west under a brigand called Wallace. Scotland's bishops were defiant. Sir William Douglas, who was called the Hardy for his boldness, and had defended Berwick against King Edward, was captured, and then pardoned into the king's peace on his promise to serve in the English army in France. Not long after, he slipped his bonds of oath, and came to join the rebels. Stung to action by this last, King Edward ordered his loyal subjects in Scotland to oppose these rebels, and Robert Bruce the Younger, Earl of Carrick, was sent to Douglas Castle to slight the fortress and take Sir William's wife and bairns hostage. But when the lion wakes, everyone must beware its fangs. Prologue. Douglas, Lanark, Feast of St. Rostan the Hermit, July the 11th, 1296. The worst part had been the dark. No moon, no stars, just a whispering of lost souls searching the wind for a way home, or a body to slither into for the memories of warm blood and life. There had been owls, and he did not like owls, for they shrieked like Caerhiriath, goddess of woodland streams, who raced through the dark screaming at those about to die. Gozello knew he should not allow himself to believe in such matters, being a good Christian, but his grandmother, old Frisian that she had been, had stuffed his head with such tales when he had been younger. It only came out when he was ruffled and fretted, and even God would have to admit that this country he had clearly forsaken did ruffle and fret. Not the country so much as the cloaked man. Gozello shivered and dragged his own cloak tighter round him, moving on into the silver dawn and happy to see the light. He had been heading for Camwath, held by the Lord Somerville. English or not, he was at least light and heat and above all safety. But the dark had put paid to that. Gozello was now certain he had missed that place and was headed for Douglas. He worried that a man limping in on foot would be sent away with a curse and a waved spear. A man on a horse had status, while one slithering through the wet summer dawn on ripped shoes with a cloak and tunic stained with hard travel was nothing at all, even if he was a Flemish master mason from Scone. Not only that, Gozello knew that Douglas was home to a nest of former rebels, who could not be trusted to keep out the ones he was sure now hunted him. Something whirred, and Gozello started, looked wildly round, and hurried on. He should never have taken the task, but that old mastiff-faced Bishop Wishart had cozened him into it with flattery and the promises of a fat purse. Not that making the peace had been difficult, and Manon had seen to the carvings. Gozello did not doubt now that the poor stoneworker was dead. Then the cloaked man had appeared with a cart and a worn horse for it, and the Fleming realised that they were taking the original and leaving the cuckoo in its place. Manon, he had been told, was paid and had gone already. That was when the chill, cold as altar stone, had sunk into his very soul. "We take this to Roslin," the cloaked man had said in French. "There you will be paid, both for your skill and to keep your mouth closed on this matter." If it had just been the cloaked man who had schemed all this, Gozello would never have countenanced it at all. But it had been a bishop, no less, who had broached the subject of it. Gozello thought Bishop Wishart a singular churchman at the time, had basked in the warm flattery and the promises of riches until the long struggle after the cart, the relentless wet. Christ in heaven, was there no other weather than this Scotland? And the gibber of his own fears had melted his resolve like gold in the assay. The cloaked man, grim as a wet cliff, became more and more sinister with each passing mile, until
Sample complete. Ready to continue?